Hello guys, welcome to another session. So today in this video, I'm going to explain a very important and a sensitive topic, that is Waqf. So by the end of this lecture, you will understand why the recent changes in Waqf laws are being discussed so widely and whether these changes are right or wrong. So we'll cover 5 major aspects of Waqf. First, we'll look at what is Waqf, and we'll see, is it religious or property issue actually here. And then we can also look at, can a non-Muslim donate to Waqf? And then next we will discuss whether Waqf fair towards daughters in a family. And then who owns the Waqf properties, and are they donated or acquired? So let's begin step by step and make this topic simple and very clear. So first, let's address this question. What is Waqf? So Waqf is a concept under Muslim law, and it means permanently donating a property which is movable or immovable in the name of God for religious or charitable purposes. Okay. So the person donating is called Waqf. Okay. And once the property is donated, it cannot be taken back. So once a Waqf, always a Waqf. So the property is managed by the State Waqf Board, and caretakers called the mutawallis are they will be appointed for that property as the caretaker. The mutawallis cannot sell or transfer the property, but can generate income from it. It could be agricultural, it could be any rental income, or whatever it is, which is to be used for religious or charitable purposes for the Muslim community. And 7% of the income will go to the State Waqf Board for administrative purposes. And every state has its own Waqf board, and at the central level, if you see, there is a Central Waqf Council also. So there is a State Waqf Board, and at the central level, there is a the Central Waqf Council also. So let's look at some of the history of Waqf and the problems which are highlighted. See, Waqf laws have existed even before independence, with several amendments have happened over a period of time. And the major change came in 2013 based on Sachar Committee report, which came in 2006. And the report basically highlighted that India had 4.9 lakh registered Waqf properties, which is covering around 6 lakh acres. So market value is actually estimated at around 1.2 lakh crore, but income generated was only 163 crore, which is hardly less than 3%, 2.7% return a year, which is very, very less. And this showed the poor income generation or the mismanagement. So what the committee did is, committee made some recommendation. So the committee recommended for stricter rules for the mutawallis, might be they are manipulating or misusing or whatever it is, and then proper digital records has to be maintained, and more power to be given to the tribunals, and inclusion of women. That's another recommendation, and hiring professionals from outside of community also for better management. Okay, so again came this one, 2024 amendment and the new changes. So in August 2024, the Waqf Amendment Bill and the Waqf Repeal Bill were introduced to clarify rules and improve the Waqf management. So, of course, the criticisms came, and the bill was referred to a joint parliamentary committee. After the feedback from experts and the stakeholders, 25 recommendations were added, and the bill was passed in both the houses. So if you see the key problems in the previous law and how amendments fix them, first, here Waqf by non-Muslims. I asked this question in the beginning itself, whether a non-Muslim can be a Waqf, right? See, earlier, anyone, including Hindus, Jains, Sikhs, could donate to Waqf. But now, only those who have practiced Islam for last 5 years can dedicate, property to Waqf. So only those who have practiced Islam for last 5 years can dedicate the property to Waqf. Again, if you see Waqf by usage, that's the most controversial aspect. Earlier, even without written documents, a property could be declared Waqf just based on public usage. For example, a mosque which is built on someone's land, which is used by public, so automatically this become a Waqf property, right? The landmark, case, if you see, where despite having sale deeds, the court ruled property as Waqf due to public religious use. But there were sales deeds and other things, but still it is, the court actually ruled a property as Waqf due to the public religious use. So this clause now is removed, and only the properties which are officially declared as Waqf with proper documents, will be considered as Waqf now. Again, coming to the government land, in many cases, government lands were claimed as Waqf, which stalled the development projects like highways or railways, and there were a lot of disputes also. But now, if no official record exists, the property will be considered as government land. So the district collector will verify the ownership, and if proven government owned, it will be removed from the Waqf list. So that's how these changes which are proposed. Now, if you look at the surveys, the disputes, and the tribunal issues, first let's look at the survey process. So a survey commissioner used to identify the Waqf properties normally. Now, the district collectors will handle surveys for more transparency. Okay, that's one thing. Again, if you look at the limitation period, earlier the property owners had only 1 year to challenge the Waqf claims. So Waqf board could claim even 100-year-old property also. But now the Limitation Act 1963 will apply to the Waqf properties like all others also. So that means 12 years for private claims and 30 years for government claims. So that's another change which you can discuss here. And then the tribunal problem, which we discussed, the Waqf disputes could only be taken to Waqf tribunals. So tribunal decisions were final with limited scope of appeal. Now, appeals can be filed in High Court within 90 days after the tribunal orders. So that's another change. Now, again, if you look at the women's right, see, earlier the married daughters were often excluded in cases of inheritance and Waqf dedication under the Waqf al-Awlad concept. But now the daughters will have equal inheritance right before the property turns into Waqf. So that's another change with respect to the women's rights. And if you look at the composition of boards, earlier only Muslims could be members, but now there must be 2 non-Muslim members, 2 Muslim women members should also be there, right? So non-Muslim members will only handle the administrative or charity matters, but not the religious one. So they will handle the administrative aspect and the charity matters, because Waqf property for charity and religious aspects. So this non-Muslim members won't handle the religious ones, but the administrative as well as the charity matters. Then there are changes in the tribunal composition also. Earlier, a Muslim law expert gave decisions based on Islamic jurisprudence. But now the presiding officer will be former district judge, and decisions will be based on legal principles and not just religious ones. So there is a massive change you can look at, you can see in all these dimensions. Now the question is Waqf a religious or property issues ultimately? See, the concept of Waqf is religious, but the Waqf Act is a property law which meant to manage religious assets. So Waqf board and the councils are not religious bodies. They are basically administrative bodies. You need to understand that. So now what is the government involvement here? Government interference in Waqf is often questioned, right? So, but we have to compare. Hindu temples like Tirupati are directly managed by the state governments. Again, property disputes of Hindu, Sikh, Jain, Christian institutions go to the civil or high courts. Waqf disputes earlier went only to tribunals with stricter rules. Now, Waqf properties could not be, returned once it is donated, unlike other religious trusts where some flexibility exists. But in case of Waqf, if you donate it once, then you cannot take it back. Then limitation period was only 1 year for Waqf property disputes, but it's longer for others. So in fact, government control is heavy in both cases and not just with Waqf. So that also we need to understand here. So if I want to summarize what we discussed in this session is, Waqf is basically a religious concept, but the laws managing it are basically property related. And over a period of time, mismanagement and misuse of Waqf properties became a serious concern. And the 2024 amendment basically tried to solve issues like, misuse of usage-based claims, unfair limitation period, lack of women rights, and unchecked claims on government lands, etc. So these changes that bring more clarity, more fairness, and transparency in the Waqf system. But again, whether these changes are enough or correct is something that we as informed citizens must continue to debate, and that's exactly what is actually going on. So that's it, guys. I just wanted to tell you all these details. I hope you got some clarity. That's it. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.